Welcome back to the Jazz Pursuit. In this video, we're going to look at John Coltrane's brilliant composition, Moment's Notice, which first appeared on his album Blue Train, released in 1957. Moment's Notice is packed full of harmony, so we're going to start by breaking this down to its fundamentals to understand the main key senses, before then adding and explaining the additional harmony. Before we get into it, do like and subscribe below to stay up to date with new content, and check out our Patreon page for PDF handouts for all our videos, plus other extras. Right, let's get started. So, first off, let's have a look at the key bits of information. Moment's Notice is played in 4/4 time and it's in the key of E flat major. The form is 38 bars divided into an A, B, A, C structure. We start with an 8-bar A section and then we have an 8-bar B section. We then repeat the 8-bar A section before going to a 14-bar C section. There is a tag in the C section that explains it being slightly longer, but we'll get into that later. Great, so that's the key bits of information done. So now let's dive in and have a look at the harmony in the A section. As I said in the intro, we're going to start with the fundamental blocks of harmony and then build up the layers of complexity afterwards. So, as we know, Moment's Notice is in the key of E flat major, and we start the A section with a 2-5-1 home to chord 1, E flat major 7. F minor 7 is the 2 chord, B flat 7 is the 5 chord, and E flat major 7 is the 1 chord. We stay here for 2 bars, and then our E flat major 7 chord turns minor and becomes the 2 in another 2-5-1. If E flat minor 7 is the 2 chord, then this means A flat 7 is the 5 chord and D flat major 7 is the 1 chord. Just for reference, D flat is the flat 7 of our home key E flat major. Great, so we stay on D flat major 7 for 2 bars and then step down a semitone to C minor 7 to start the B section. This is the relative minor of our home key E flat major, and we can also call this chord 6. The B section starts with some classic jazz standard harmony. We're already on chord 6, the relative minor, and next we have a quick 2-5-1 to chord 4, which is A flat major 7. B flat minor 7 is the 2 chord, and E flat 7 is the 5 chord. Like in the A section, we then sit on our A flat major 7 chord for 2 bars, and then it turns minor and becomes a 2 in another 2-5-1. So if A flat minor 7 is the 2 chord, then D flat 7 is the 5 chord, and G flat major 7 is the 1 chord. Interestingly, this is the flat 3 of our home key, and we stay here for 2 bars before going back to repeat the A section. That was a lot of harmony straight up, so now let's quickly recap it, but with the piano. So we start with a 2-5-1 home to chord 1, E flat major, F minor 7 to B flat 7 to E flat major 7. Then we stay here for 2 bars. E flat major 7 then turns minor and becomes a 2 in another 2-5-1, E flat minor 7 to A flat 7 to D flat major 7. And again, we rest here for 2 bars. We then slip down a semitone to C minor 7 to start the B section. C minor 7 is a relative minor of our home key E flat major, and also known as chord 6. And then we have a quick 2-5-1 to chord 4, A flat major, B flat minor 7 to E flat 7 to A flat major 7. We then repeat the same trick from the A section. We stay on our A flat major 7 chord for 2 bars, before it then turns minor and becomes a 2 in another 2-5-1, A flat minor 7 to D flat 7 to G flat major 7. Brilliant! And then we go back and repeat the A section, leaving us with just the C section left to learn. Usually, at this point in the video, we'd have a break and have a look at the melody up until this point. But because we've got some additional chord changes to add later, we're going to quickly finish the harmony of the C section and then dive into the melody. Some good news. The C section begins exactly the same way as the B section. We start on chord 6, C minor 7, and then have a quick 2-5-1 to chord 4 A flat major 7. And here's where it changes. Rather than now moving to G flat major 7 like the B section, we instead consolidate our key by having a 3-6-2-5 progression, which takes us home to chord 1 E flat major 7. Chord 3 is G minor 7, chord 6 is C minor 7, chord 2 is F minor 7, and chord 5 is B flat 7, which takes us home to chord 1 E flat major 7. Easy! And now we've reached the tag, which can also be played as an intro. It consists of walking through the chords of our scale to chord 3 and then back down again. We're already on chord 1 E flat major 7, and then we move up to chord 2 F minor 7, then up again to chord 3 G minor 7, and then back down to chord 2 F minor 7, ending on chord 1 E flat major 7. All of these chords last for a whole bar, and then to create momentum towards the end of the form and the solo break, we then repeat the same progression only twice as fast, with each chord lasting only 2 beats. E flat major 7 to F minor 7 to G minor 7, then back to F minor 7, ending on chord 1 E flat major 7. Super! So that's the C section harmony done. The last thing to mention is that all the chords in the C section tag are played over a dominant pedal. Because we're in the key of E flat major, this is a B flat. Cool! So now let's hear the C section harmony on the piano. Cool! So that's the foundations of the harmony done. We've got a few more changes to add later, but it's interesting how the fundamentals of moment's notice are deep-rooted in quite standard jazz harmony of the time. Anyway, now let's take a look at the melody. Considering how much the harmony moves around, the melody counters this and stays predominantly in E flat major, using mainly the notes from the E flat major scale. We start on the third G on the second quaver of the bar, with a clever dotted crotchet or dotted quarter note cross rhythm. On the recording, Coltrane breaks this dotted rhythm up using his articulation. The first note is long and the second is short, and then he repeats this for the third and fourth note. The third is long and the fourth is short, ending with a short fifth note. We then end the first phrase by walking up through the E flat major scale, from the third to the fifth, before then falling to the fourth. The second line then almost repeats the first line, only down a scale note. Bearing in mind our resolution in this line is D flat major 7. We start on the third again, which is now an F, and we have the same dotted cross rhythm and articulation. We then end the second line by walking up through the scale, from the third to the fifth, before landing early on the fourth in the eighth bar. This fourth, G, is from our E flat major scale, but it doesn't completely fit our D flat major 7 chord, as it's in fact the sharp 11. So let's tweak our chord symbol to reflect this. Cool! And now let's hear the A section melody on the piano. Now for the B section, and we get there with a quick turnaround and F in the last bar of the A section, before then landing on the third of our C minor chord, E flat, to start the B section. The rhythm of the melody in the B section is more spacious than the A section. We rest on the third of our C minor 7 chord for a whole bar, before then jumping up to the ninth of our B flat minor 7 chord, where we also stay for a bar. The rhythm of the melody then changes to minims or half notes, and we fall down through the upper structure of our A flat major 7 chord, from the 9th to the 7th to the 5th. Despite the chords changing, the melody then walks up through the E flat major scale, from the root E flat, which we're currently on, to the 5th B flat on the D flat 7 chord. It's then at this point that we step outside of the notes from E flat major. We rise to a C flat, the flat 7 of our D flat 7 chord, before landing on the 5th of our G flat major 7 chord, D flat. This tweak of the melody allows us to make the most of this bright modulation. We then fall down through the triad of our G flat major 7 chord, from the 5th to the 3rd to the root, before enclosing the major 7 F. Another way to think of the melody here is that Coltrane outlines an E flat minor 7 chord. We fall from the 7th to the 5th to the 3rd to the root, before we then go back to the start of the A section, where our first note is G, the major 3rd, and very clearly E flat major 7. Anyway, now let's hear the B section. Brilliant! So that's the melody done for the A and B section. We'll come back shortly and look at the melody for the C section. But for now, let's get on to the fun bit, the extra chord changes. Moment's Notice was written at a time where Coltrane was packing his tunes full of harmony. So anywhere where the harmony currently isn't moving, it will be soon. First off, we need to add a backdoor 2-5 in the 4th bar of the A section. A backdoor 2-5 is where we resolve up from the 5 chord rather than down. Our target point is E flat minor 7, so our backdoor 5 chord is D flat 7, as this resolves up a tone to E flat minor 7. If D flat 7 is the 5 chord, then A flat minor 7 must be the 2 chord. Another place we can add some harmony is bar 8 of the A section, to set up chord 6 C minor 7 in the 1st bar of the B section. We're going to add a regular 2-5. So if C minor is our 1 chord, then this means our 2 chord is D minor 7 and our 5 chord is G7. The next block of changes we're going to add has a theme. They're all chromatic 2-5s from below. Let's get stuck in and have a look at the first line of the A section. We currently have a 2-5-1 to E flat major 7, and now we're going to tweak this to add our chromatic 2-5. First things first, we have to put our 2 chord and 5 chord into the same bar, where they both last for 2 beats. And then we add our extra 2-5. A semitone below F minor is E minor, so this is the starting point of our chromatic 2-5. If E minor 7 is the 2 chord, then A7 is the 5 chord, and this then leads us to our original 2-5, F minor 7 to B flat 7 to E flat major 7. Coltrane ties the string of chords together through the melody. It's the same note across all the chords, G. This is the 3rd of the E minor 7 chord, the 7th of the A7 chord, the 9th of the F minor 7 chord, the 13th of the B flat 7 chord, and the 3rd of the E flat major 7 chord. Clever, right? And now the same thing happens on the second line. First step, we squeeze our current 2-5, E flat minor 7 to A flat 7, into one bar. And now we work out a semitone lower than the 2 chord, which is D. So D minor is the starting point of our chromatic 2-5. If D minor 7 is the 2 chord, then G7 is the 5 chord, which leads us to our original 2-5, E flat minor 7 to A flat 7 to D flat major 7. Again, Coltrane uses the melody to tie all of this together. The melody note F is the 3rd of the D minor 7 chord, 7th of the G7 chord, 9th of the E flat minor 7 chord, 13th of the A flat 7 chord, and 3rd of the D flat major 7 chord. Brilliant! And there's another place where he uses the same trick. It's the second line of the B section. We currently have a 2-5-1 to G flat major 7. So by now we know the drill. Squeeze the 2 and 5 chord into the same bar and work out a semitone lower from A flat, which is G. So G minor 7 is the starting point of our chromatic 2/5. If G minor 7 is the 2 chord, then C7 is the 5 chord, which leads us to our original 2/5, A flat minor 7 to D flat 7 to G flat major 7. The one change about this chromatic 2/5 is rather than having the same melody note across the top of all the chords, binding them together, we're instead walking through the E flat major scale and then tweaking it at the end to help us modulate to G flat major 7. The same effect is created though, as the strength of the simple melody line ties together the changing harmony. Cool, so now let's hear the A and B section with our added harmony. Brilliant! And then we repeat the A section, which leaves us with just the C section melody left to learn. And some good news, just like the harmony, it starts the same way as the B section. We start on the minor third of our C minor 7 chord, before jumping up to the 9th of our B flat minor 7 chord. And then we fall down through the upper structure of our A flat major 7 chord, from the 9th to the 7th to the 5th. We keep going and walk up through our E flat major scale, but stop when we get to the 3rd G on our G minor 7 chord, and here's where our melody changes. Rather than modulating to reflect the harmony like the B section, we consolidate our key, falling from the 3rd to the root and then walking up to the 2nd, before a quicker phrase alternating between the root and the 2nd, before ending by falling from the 3rd to the root. We're now in the tag section of the C section, with our rising chords over our dominant pedal, and the melody just reinforces the harmony. We rest on the root note of each chord, before rising a 3rd and then falling a scale note to the root of the next chord, and then we do the same but in reverse for the falling chords. When the harmonic rhythm is then doubled, our melody just stays on the root note of each chord, ending with the root on the E flat major 7 chord. Perfect, now we're nearly done. There's just a couple more chords left to add, and it's where we've currently got one chord that lasts for 2 bars. Firstly, bar 4 of the B section. In here, we have a harmonic trick that we first talked about when we were doing the foundations of the harmony. Our A flat major 7 chord turns minor and becomes the 2 in a 2/5. If A flat minor 7 is the 2 chord, then this means D flat 7 is the 5 chord. Because the C section begins the same way as the B section, we also drop this same 2/5 in the 4th bar of the C section. Our A flat major 7 turns minor to A flat minor 7, which leads to our 5 chord D flat 7. The other place where one chord currently lasts for 2 bars is bars 7 and 8 of the B section, and in here we drop another 2/5. In bar 4 of the B section, we currently foreshadow the 2/5 that happens in bar 6 of the B section. And that's exactly what happens here. We foreshadow the 2/5 that happens in bar 2 of the A section. So F minor 7 is the 2 chord and B flat 7 is the 5 chord. The last tweak is in the first bar of the B section, and I think it's all down to the bass player. We currently have C minor 7 to B flat minor 7, so I think most bass players would join these two by playing a B, so our added chord is B7. Another cool thing is that it works really well with our melody. As the melody note is an E flat, this is the 3rd of our C minor 7 chord, but it's also the 3rd of our B7 chord. And there you have it, Moment's Notice in all its glory. I hope you've enjoyed the video, and do like and subscribe below to stay up to date with new content. Make sure you check out our Patreon page where we have PDFs for all our videos, plus other added extras. Happy practicing!